Access to information is a fundamental human right, essential to safeguard the rule of law and enable the full enjoyment of other human rights.
The right to earn a living, the right to live in a society governed by the rule of law, the right to live in a society free of corruption, the right to know how algorithms are constructed and used against the population, the right to know the data that is being collected about oneself, the right to live in a just society, and the right to hold our governments to account.
I believe that when people express themselves, freely, then it unleashes the kind of human creativity that you need to be able to propel society forward. Government has a responsibility to ensure that the means for people to express themselves is there, and so we create an enabling environment for that to happen. We make sure that information is as available as possible. Every year there must be statistics that are compiled on every sector of the economy. As much information on what government is doing must be made available to the citizens.
As long as we have minorities that are unable to use their right to vote, to access representation, and to be able to elect people of their choice to lead them, as long as we don't have freedom of expression, as long as information is not vitally moving around in our societies, unfettered and freely, we are not able to have sustainable solutions.
As a researcher, I realized that access to information alone is not really the answer. It is part of the answer, but it's not the answer, because if you have access to information, but the rest of the society is still considering women as inferior to men, then this wealth of information may not be able to be transformed into something that empowers women in general.
It's important for this reason. It's about putting at the very heart of the international debate the issue of information, access to good, clean information.
C'est important de savoir ce qui va se passer. On est accablé par des informations anxiogènes, donc avoir des solutions pour recycler le plastique, notamment des océans, pour planter des arbres, pour autonomiser des populations rurales, pour essayer de manger de manière éthique, avec des bons produits, bons pour la santé, bons pour la planète, de manière accessible. Donc c'est hyper important, notamment donc, de pouvoir partager tout ça, et notamment quand on est journaliste.
Communities needed, individuals needed for better planning, for better access to resources.
De forma común, la transparencia y el acceso le permite a la gente ejercer de mejor manera sus derechos que la Constitución y las leyes le garantizan.
So access of information is important for people to have freedoms. The more you know, the freer you are.
I believe that opening data and made data accessible to everyone would be beneficial for access to information.
En cette journée internationale, l'UNESCO voudrait donc appeler les gouvernements à ne pas opposer liberté d'expression et sécurité sanitaire. Car sacrifier la première à la deuxième, c'est finalement risquer de se priver des deux à la fois.
More than 20 laws has been adopted or modified, among them on openness of the activities of public authorities and administrations, on guarantees and freedom of access to information, on protection professional activities of journalists and others.
We learned that the timely access to reliable, accurate, and accessible health information can be the difference between life and death.
Really, that citizens in every country are feeling the importance of access to information. And never before did they thirst for information, feel that access to information was, almost a matter of life and death for them, as they did during COVID.
International organizations pledged to build transparency into their responses for COVID-19. The verdict is still out on this, but many contracts to buy COVID vaccines are being kept secret.
Government without data cannot inform citizens, and citizens without data cannot hold government to account from a knowledge-based perspective.
COVID-19 pandemic has shown, among many other aspects, the need for reliable information. There is also concern about disinformation and misinformation.
Access to information is an essential tool to promote and strengthen citizens' trust and participation.
In July 2020, the Human Rights Council adopted a resolution entitled Freedom of Opinion and Expression, recognizing that obstacles to access to information can undermine the enjoyment of civil and political rights, as well as economic, social, and cultural rights.
Access to information gives citizens access to justice, to claim what is rightfully theirs.
Making citizens pay for requesting information denies them from exercising that right.
Most agencies perform better when it comes to proactive disclosure.
To have guarantor agencies that are independent and that they have their own budget that are separate from public authorities.
Access to information empowers the powerless, gives voice to the voiceless.
Internet is not free, fair, accessible to everybody. Then people will be left out and neither will be engaged.
Access to information can be supported through digital technologies. For instance, Colombia created interactive web platforms and call centers that support access to information for blind and deaf citizens.
As we all know, what gets measured gets done, and what cannot be measured cannot be improved.
The greater the volume of data available, the better the algorithm.
It's also extremely important to generate mechanisms for access to information which allow citizens to provide checks and balances on the government, especially in the context of a pandemic.
Thanks to the data we now have, it's clear what the gaps are, but also where the potential lies.
Science itself is an open construct. The development of science was premised on the fact that in order to replicate discovery, in order to prove that something actually is the way it is, it has to be shared. Science is built on openness.
On a global scale, access to public information is essential to our ability to address climate change, health crises, global corruption, cross-border data sharing, and widespread disinformation campaigns.
We want to know about what's happening with climate change, we want to know what's happening with gender equality, we want to know what's happening with jobs. We need this information, I need this information, and you need this information.